Hey there, this is Rob. Do I have news for you? MeUndies is back in this episode, and I had an idea after we finished recording. I want KibbeLee and Finnegan show MeUndies to be made. When you order your pair, for the love of all that's holy, ask for a KAFS edition. We can get this done together.
Hold up on that car wash, gentlemen.
Rob KibbeLee.
Don't tell me. You're from outer space.
No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space.
Mike Finnegan.
Go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
Two guys talking cars.
I am a semi-professional race car driver and an amateur tattoo artist.
Taking on the most serious topics.
But we will give nothing back to the academic community, as well as provide no public service of any kind. This much I promise you.
And the Dukes of Hazzard. On iTunes, Stitcher, and whatever else it is you listen on. The KibbeLee and Finnegan Show.
KibbeLee and Finnegan Show, episode number 88. Available in all of the best podcast platforms, including iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, I think is one of them. We stick them on the YouTubes now. We put it on Instagram TV. It's on Facebook video. Available everywhere. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I am seeing a call-in, which is odd because we don't have a call-in. Make it like this. Hello, who is this?
You.
Is this Mike Finnegan?
It might be. It's been a while. Do you remember what I sound like?
Are you calling into your own show?
Yes. This is the only way I can actually make this happen. Be a guest on my own show.
Well, it's good to hear from you. How you been? I miss you.
I've been good. Have you completely replaced me with Corndog?
The fans are really warming up to him. Nobody's asking where you are. It's getting uncomfortable. So, yeah, it's good to know you're still doing okay. You are, I assume, in the throes of SEMA prep, right?
Yes, I'm in SEMA hell right now, actually, which, for most humans are like, what the hell is that? Well, SEMA hell is when you decide, irrationally so, to take a vehicle that is neither finished nor has the hope of being finished to this giant industry trade show in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so right now, I am part of an exclusive group of psychopaths frantically trying to finish building something just to park it on some carpet in a convention center in Vegas.
That is good news. So this is a joke. I knew you were calling in. It is good to hear from you. And we are, we have other plans that will be more formal like this. But what I thought we could do here is I'll have Corndog in for the second half of the show. We're going to review a Dukes of Hazzard episode. But since you are headed to SEMA and you are bringing Blasphemy, the last time we talked, Blasphemy had no motor. And that has, I assume, changed?
Yeah, so Blasphemy broke the Hemi again on my last pass at Drag Week in September. And between then and now, my friends and I have plucked the motor out of the car, taken it back to John Causey Racing Engines in Georgia to get the motor rebuilt again for, I don't know if it's the third or fourth time in 2 years. Over the last week, we've dynoed the motor, stabbed it back in the car, and then just started fixing and cleaning up things on the car that I was never happy with. Like, all of the windows were screwed up in that car, so we replaced all of them. The wiring from when we took the motor out of the car wasn't great, so we fixed that. We had cut the quarter panels right before Drag Week to fit bigger tires, so now we're finishing the body work and painting the quarter panels, like just a bunch of stuff, Mm-hmm. In general, the car was just trashed from driving it 1,000 miles and drag racing it at Drag Week. We drove through, I don't think we got the brunt of the hurricane, but it was parked in a river at one drag strip. We spent hours driving through the rain, getting to another one. I mean, the car was just hammered, so we basically blew the entire thing apart, and are now putting it back together and have to have it done by tomorrow night because then it leaves for the SEMA show in Vegas. You're
going in the Holly booth? Is that right?
Yeah, if any of you will actually be there, it will be in the Holly booth at SEMA next to a pretty famous second-gen Camaro that did a wheelie on dirt in a movie called The Fast and the Furious.
Really? Well, that sounds like a very compelling duo of cars to be at the same booth at the same place. I think that would be a fan favorite.
I think people like it.
What all
they
Holly?
Both have Holly EM5.
Yeah, that was my question. I didn't know what Holly stuff was on that car because I mean, that car's probably got a little speed parts of every manufacturer you can think of. What Holley stuff is on it?
Right before drag week and immediately after power tours. So I think between July and September, I ripped every scrap of wire out of the car and rewired the whole car and installed a Holley Dominator EFI system. That is what's in the car from the good folks at Holley. It's fantastic how well it worked during drag week. Drag week was not easy, but easier than it has been because my car required almost no work to it other than converting it from street trim to track trim. And then, on the last pass, I had a problem shifting the gearbox into third, and it went into first miraculously. The trans company keeps telling me it can't do that, but I think I managed to put it into first because on my Holley data acquisition system, you see the engine at the top of second year at 7,000 all of a sudden go to $9,000, and the speed, because I have a drive shaft sensor, the drive shaft speed slows way down because the back tire's locked up. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I put it in first accidentally. The motor saw 9,400 RPM, and it broke a valve spring retainer and dropped the valve, and that's what killed the motor.
Do you get a discount when you go back to the same engine shop like 4 times?
No, because I was up front with them. I'm like, hey, I think this thing broke because the trans went into first gear. And it's funny because they told me, they're like, yeah, but that retainer shouldn't have broken, but we're going to change them all and give you the NASCAR retainers now. So I'm like, oh, I wish I had had those before. But what are you going to do? No. The thing about Kazi is I don't know that I get a discount, but what they do is slide me into their schedule when I blow up a drag week and go, hey, I have to have this done in 3 weeks so we can go to the SEMA show.
Right.
So they're really cool about making my broken engines a priority.
Well, let's chat about the SEMA show schedule here a little bit. So I'm sure I'll see you somewhere. I'm only going to be there Thursday and Friday. I slid my schedule like way apart. Bernie will be there on Tuesday. Wait, isn't this the Mini Trucker Hall of Fame reception? Does this happen on this trip?
Yeah, Monday night at Hogs and Heifers. I'm going to get a ring.
What does one wear to that reception?
I'm guessing flat bill hats, sticky shorts, black T-shirts, black... I don't know. I've actually never been to a Mini Truck Hall of Fame ceremony, so I don't know. I know it's at a bar called Hogs and Heifers, so I don't think you have to get too dressed up, and there'll be alcohol, so no matter what, it'll be fun. What is your tattoo to skin ratio? Do you have enough for this? Are you going to tat up to get in there? No, I don't have nearly enough tattoos. I hide it well with flannel and body hair. So okay. I think in lieu of tattoos, if you're part Yeti, you really get a pass on that. Can you shave a tattoo into the hair? I realize that's a high maintenance issue, but you could do that. Oh, damn right. Dude, literally, if I shave my face at midnight, I'm shaving it again the following midnight. Yeah, growth is no problem. Okay. I got the fur on lock over here. Sounds good. Well, I got your K member in my Charger, and it's pretty fun. Congratulations. It's pretty fun. Even got it aligned by my favorite restoration shop here in town. It's but the only place that'll align old cars. The guy that owns the place is named Steve Myers, and he's got an FIA license, so he's very good at alignment setup. It is nice. It is a really nice car to drive now. Disc brakes work. Headers are awesome. It's cool. I will bring it to you. You can drive it. What I didn't get done is get any of the Holley fuel injection stuff set up on it, but I do have a computer to tune, and you can help me with that if you'd be willing. Oh, yeah. I'm getting pretty good at it. I still want to take the class. Holley offers a class where you can go and learn all about EFI tuning, and I'd still like to go to that. I haven't done it yet. Everything I've kind of learned has been through the seat of my pants and doing it wrong and calling people afterwards. But, yeah, I mean, I can definitely help you. I can show you what not to do, for sure. Have you ever done it with an automatic on there? I've never put an automatic in a car until this one. Yeah, the Crusher Camaro, 4 or 5 years ago, we took it to the PRI show, and Freiberger and I and some of our friends swapped from a big block Chevy with a roots blower to a LS2 or 3 with an automatic behind it, and we swapped it there, installed Holley EFI, and drove it cross-country home. And I spent a good portion of that trip sitting in the passenger seat with a laptop, just learning how to work the program, and it was awesome. Here's what I got set up now. So it's still got a carburetor on it, but the Silver Sport, when you get the transmission from Silver Sport, it comes with a whole kit from TCI to control it, including a throttle position sensor. It's cable actuated with a spring on the end and a sensor. That's how the transmission knows what's going on. Well, anyway, that
TCI device kept getting hung up. I did not know that until I finally just popped the hood to try to watch it while it was happening. And the TCI was thinking I was at wide open throttle. So the transmission was driving, frankly, terribly. And then when I just got the retainer pulled out of it so I could flip it back to 0, it worked perfect. So even with it on a carburetor, it's pretty good. But with the Holley setup, it would be awesome. But I don't really know much about transmission tuning. The thing on the TCI one is kind of made for entry-level people, more like what I would need. And you just kind of click up, click down if you want more performance or less performance. And there's a bunch of different settings that I haven't even tapped yet. And from what Bill has told me at Holley, that's all in the Holley tune that you stick on there. So with your Camaro experience, were you monkeying with the transmission side of it specifically?
Not a whole lot. We were fortunate to have, when we were at Indy, you know, the whole racing world was there, and Robin Lawrence from Holley was there, and he gave us a baseline tune for the transmission. And because we were driving in the dead of winter and we were on snow and ice for a good portion of the trip, we weren't messing around with the firmness of the shifts or anything else. We were just trying not to crash the car.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That would make sense because you could die quickly in an old car on snow. Well, awesome. I think we're scheduled up to do like a normal studio recording later this week. We can catch up there and tell everybody about SEMA plans. But I did get some stickers made up for you. I got to get these to you. Hopefully I can get some to you or get some near your car so we can hand them out to people that might be at the show. People have seen the logo on your trunk and would like one. I don't have one, but I do have stickers.
Oh, cool.
Okay, man. Well, good to check in with you, and I'll talk to you later this week.
All right.
Get me a corn dog and get a boss a half a dozen. That's it.
And now through the power of the internet, Mike is gone, and Corndog is here to take his normal place on the throne of co-host. Welcome, Corndog.
Well, how are you doing this evening?
I'm fine. Mike's one question was, has he been fully replaced by you?
No. That's hard shoes to fill, so he has his spot all the time on the show.
It is tough to beat his show summaries and the lilt of his eyebrows as he speaks. Yeah. But this should be good. He gives you his best. We chat a little bit off the air too. So he and I we're gonna record a bunch of stuff later this week. There's just too many things cooking now.
He's a busy man. Mm-hmm. We all are, actually.
Last week, I may have canceled on him this time. I'm not sure. So we have a weekly show. We do not record it weekly. We work around anything we can possibly do to make it work and release on a consistent basis. You know, I'm in the podcast business, so that's my product. That's what I'm supposed to do, is deliver you a product. Same time, same day, every single week. That's what we deliver to sponsors specifically, but also that's how you build an audience of people who want to come back and expect something. So we work really, really hard to make that happen. That's credit to everybody, including you, that pulls that off. So much appreciated.
You got to feed the masses.
You got to feed the beast. That's right. So I have some questions for you. Some Mopar, some Dukes of Hazzard related, just some that kind of came to mind to me. But I have my car on the road. And mentioned it to Mike, too. I got my K-member is in there. It runs and it drives. And it has exhaust on it. And I got it aligned Friday night. And it really drives pretty good. So I had some questions about that. And I've only driven a few Dodges in my whole life. Is the power steering supposed to be that floaty? Is that just a Mopar thing?
It's just very, very sensitive. Like if you're driving down the road and you've got both hands on the wheel and you just want to look over your shoulder before you change lanes, as you're looking over your shoulder, you're already changing lanes. I mean, it's that sensitive. The slightest little bump in the steering wheel, you'll be all over the road.
It just seems, in my world, it would be like over-assisted almost. It's difficult to drive until you really get a feel for it because, well, even with my Chevelle, there's nothing stock in it. And when you turn the wheel, I mean, you almost pull the wheel to turn it.
Right. And you probably have a pretty wide tread tire on your front.
Yeah, on that one. And I have small tires in my car, but they're a 245. You get a lot of feedback. And after a while, it starts to feel good to you.
Yeah.
With the Charger, the General Lee right now, we're getting used to each other. It is a little
sloppy
much.
Dance.
Yeah, it is a little much.
Well, on the Charger, do you have, 225, 235s?
235s.
I mean, that's kind of wide, but not really. So it's a good happy medium.
I guess same question with the power disc brakes. The pedal does not come up as high as it did with the drum brakes. I don't know how it could. Mechanically, it all seems different links.
Yeah, just the throw and the linkage.
So on a power brake, disc brake car, when you put the pedal to the floor, should it go all the way to the floor? Because mine does. And they work. It stops fine.
You shouldn't be on the floor. I mean, you should still have some space between the floor and the pedal.
There is, but it's like a little more than halfway down to me should be where it stops. And that's not at all where it stops.
Yeah. Well, when it's no foot on the brake or anything, does the pedal come up what looks like a significant amount higher than the gas pedal?
No, not at all. In fact, it's either even with the gas pedal or maybe it starts a little bit lower.
Normally, they're up towards the seat a good bit further than the gas pedal is.
Well, maybe.
Like you almost have to lift your foot off and put it on. It's almost like you can't just go from one to the other without pulling your leg back.
There's something linkage-wise than is different about mine.
Yeah, it may just not be the throw. Well, the throw is going to be what it is, but the push rod that goes in the back of it may not be long enough, if that makes sense.
It does. It's adjustable on the other side of the booster. In between the booster and the master cylinder, I can make it longer if need be, and I just kind of eyeballed it when I put it all together. I didn't use any measurements or any tools or anything like that. And it stops fine. But that pedal, the linkage for the power booster is much shorter than the linkage for the manual booster.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm just getting used to how Mopar's driving. This is a whole new front. Like, everything up there's new. It's all new bushing. Everything's new. This is just how it drives.
Just a good old muscle car.
Just got to get
plain Jane stock, not Pro Touring or anything like that.
Well, even my 76 Nova in high school had some positive feel to the steering. I think that's just a Mopar thing. So
yeah, you can actually get a either firm feel. I think they make an adapter that goes on the top of the nipple that is on the top of the steering box that has like two, I think 7/16 or 3/8 bolts on it, and you loosen it up and it has to have its own little special spot on the top of the steering box. And like sometimes when you crank up the car, it'll automatically cut the wheel either to the right or to the left or whatever. And so anyways, you loosen it up and you get it where it needs to be. And if your wheel's not kicking one way or the other while it's running, then you're fine. But what they have is firm fill, I think, makes a piece that goes on top of there and it kind of restricts the flow and it kind of tightens up the steering box a little bit. So you may want to look into that. I haven't used one before just because most of the time I always do OE restorations, but I think I've seen one of those before. So you may want to look into that.
Well, I'm going to Firm Feel right now just to check it out. I think I have seen some of their other components before. Power steering box, manual steering box. I'll take a look through this. Borgeson, I know, has a box that is a truly different design. It's a bolt-in replacement, but it's probably more GM-like, I would guess. Out of all of the cars that you've restored, were most of them power steering, or half, or just a few?
I'd say the majority of them were power steering. I know the Charger 500 was manual steering, and the car that I've done a lot of work to, but did not restore, it was a 70 Coronet RT, and it's manual steering. The rest are power steering.
Your Ram Charger, does that kind of have that super assisted power steering? Is that still how those were?
Yeah, and it's pretty much kind of the same way, but also that thing you can almost literally turn on a dime because it's such a short wheelbase too. And so you cut the wheel and you can whip it right into a parking spot that you may not even be able to do with like a Honda Accord or Honda Civic or something. You can wheel it into the spot pretty easy. But yeah, it's pretty smooth steering, power assisted.
Okay, so I should get used to it or replace it with something different. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, next question. If you want a factory replacement wiring harness, what would you recommend?
If you want a factory replacement one, the best place to go through is Year One. They sell M&H engineering. It's M&H, but it's either engineering or electricals or whatever, but they sell M&H. And I've already tried. You cannot go directly to M&H and buy it. You have to go through Year One. But it's basically an OE replacement, plug and play. They've got all the connectors. It's routed the right length. Everything's taped up, and everything's just like you were to go to the Chrysler dealership back in the day and say, I need an engine harness, and this is basically the equivalent of that.
Is that what you have
They're
used
really
in your restorations?
That's the only thing I use, really. Unless they don't make a harness for it. Like on the Corvette that I did, I just did a painless wire harness because I had to make it all up as I went. And I'm just now getting started on a 77 Bronco, and they don't make a harness for it either. So I'll have to make the harness. And I'll probably, use a painless harness and just route it the full length throughout bumper to bumper. But as far as like Chrysler products, if they make it, M&H is the best one to get.
I've had super good luck with Ron Francis wiring just in the muscle car place as a business and in using their products. Mm-hmm. And they do have a bunch of different options for Mopars, and others are just more generic in nature, kind of like you were mentioning before. So here's where I'm going with this. Shannon Hudson from Red Line Gauge Works redid my gauges. Mm-hmm. And he refaced them all, put in a tic-tac tack, real pretty, swapped the voltmeter in for the ammeter. And because of the not even factory, but kind of hodgepodge together wiring harness that's in the car, I accidentally fried the fuel gauge, which is a real bummer. I put 12 volts on it, and there's a factory plug that goes in the back that's supposed to hook up to all 5 pins that drive the gauges and the lights for the gauges. Well, I don't have that factory plug. I have these 2 other plugs, and then one pin is hardwired to the fuel gauge. Didn't see that, and I ended up putting 12 volts on the fuel gauge and fried it. So I was talking to Shannon, and he was just not following what I was saying. Then I realized the plugs that I have in this car must not be stock.
Right.
And then he also mentioned, I think, that same company. What was it again? M and what? M and H?
Yeah, M and H. Okay. Mustard and Harvest.
Mustard and Harvest. Well, and he also mentioned that you could only get them through year 1. Why?
They're probably just, set up just to sell through them. I don't know if it's like a contract deal or they've been around for quite a while. I know the first one that I put in was in like 08 or 09, and it was the same way then. So I don't know if it's just I don't even think it's a branch of year 1. I just think they're just set up just to sell through year 1 only. Because like I said, I had to troubleshoot something one time, and I called M&H and I talked with them, and they were helping me through it. And I'd called back another time because I was looking to get a harness for my 66 Charger. And they said, well, we don't sell direct. They specifically told me that they do not sell direct, and they sell just directly through year 1. So I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm on their website right now looking for everything that goes to a 69 Charger.
I've heard of people using the Ron Francis, and then there's a few other brands like American Auto Wire or something like that. I'd like to see one of those harnesses, if it has like the bulkhead, the main square bulkhead, and all those special connectors, or if it's just kind of one of those cut to fit kind of harness.
All the Ron Francis stuff is advertised as cut to fit. None of it is supposed to be a direct replacement. And it's also giving you a whole different fuse panel with way more electrical options than a factory one would be.
So it's kind of like a universal, kind of a hot rod harness, I guess what they call it.
Yeah.
And if you have a bunch of accessories, you may want to try to look at doing something like that, and maybe just I'm a stickler for the originality. So when I see one of those big round bulkheads going through the firewall, I hate that because, originally it had the rectangular bulkhead with the 3 plugs on it. You can buy those connectors and the bulkhead separate. And if you want to use one of those aftermarket harnesses and run it through that bulkhead, I think it would look nice. There again, I'm a stickler for originality. So,
well, I will probably do a mix of both. I do like the way the original stuff looks, but I'm running fans, fuel injection, all sorts of other stuff.
You start running all that and you almost need something.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to run a factory fuse panel. I'm doing that now, and it's pretty rinky-dink. it's nothing caught
you're
fire.
Making do with what you were given.
Well, that answers that one. Here's another question. This was sent in. No, it wasn't sent in at all. This was texted to me by Bernie McPartland, our producer. Mm-hmm. Mopar glass. Is Mopar glass hard to get? I have no idea why he's asking.
Well, AMD, Auto Metal Direct in Georgia, they reproduce the glass, and they'll actually have the Pentastar logo, and you can get it date coded and part number and all that kind of stuff because people like that. When I was doing the 500, they were working on making a back glass for the 500 in Daytona. So I pulled out the back glass. We sent it to AMD for them to use it as a template. And so they said, okay, well, we're going to use it as a template. We're not going to break it, I promise. and we're going to send you one back kind of as thanks for letting us use it. And so they sent us one of the first ones that they got back, and it wasn't quite right. I put it in the car, and it didn't fit the contour, and I took pictures and sent it back to them, and they said, all right, back to the drawing board. Anyways, they do make glass, and I don't know if there's any other companies that make it right now. I'm sure there's some that just sell replacement glass, but there again, if you want the OE look, with the correct etched numbers in it, that's really the only place that I know to go to.
Do you know of anybody that just makes super custom glass that you can have like antennas and stuff added into? Wire antennas?
Not right off. I don't, but I'm sure there's someone out there that makes it.
That I do want to do. Separate project. Unrelated to this. Well, actually, I would like it for the general lead too, so I could run the AM radio back there and leave the CB as a CB.
Well, didn't you say you were going to ask your dad about that because he knew a lot about ham radio and all that kind of stuff?
I did, and it was tougher than I thought. He kind of explained to me how antenna technology works. CB antennas and AM FM radio antennas, there's two different things.
Okay.
They are designed to operate in different wavelengths. So you can run a radio antenna where the CB antenna goes, and it will work the radio, but it's not going to operate your CB. And if you want an operable CB, then you got to run a CB antenna.
And that's the thing that's crazy is a lot of the General Lees, if you run the teardrop antenna, you can run the wire around the edge of the deck lid and go on into your radio and everything's fine. But if you want to run the Avanti where it's mounted 6 or 7 inches off the edge, you've either got to drill a hole or something. I would say none of the antennas on the show actually were functional. They'd snip the wire and they'd hard mount it and be done with it.
All good. Speaking with how cars were done on the show, back to Shannon Hudson. So when I was talking to him, trying to figure out what was wrong with my gauge, I said, hey, are you going to be at the SEMA show? And he goes, well, yes, I will. I said, well, cool. I'll come find you. I said, are you going there with your family? He goes, yes, I am. So I'm going to interview he and his father-in-law, Renaud Valuze, on Friday. So I'm making a little list of questions.
Wow.
Here's what I got so far, other than what color was the interior. I have the question for you. Why did Daisy's Roadrunner switch years? That was my first question to ask him. What other question should I ask? This is open to everybody listening. I'll sneak in a bunch of questions. I kind of want him to know the process of my car and how I'm cloning it after the ones that he and Andre built. But I want to get a bunch of questions asked while I'm there. So what should I ask?
One thing, the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm sure if after we get off the phone, I'll think of 10 more questions. But the main one I want to know is, I've heard rumors, and I've never really gotten a definite answer, but how did they go about labeling the cars? The first ones were Lee 1, Lee 2, Lee 3, and then the Valuze area was kind of a little foggy on exactly how they labeled their cars. And then once they went to Ken Fritz, then it was SGL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Warner Brothers was WGL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so the Valuze cars, I've always wanted to know how they labeled them.
Okay, so you're saying that Ken Fritz relabeled everything?
Yes. Once they took possession then it didn't matter what number was on it or wasn't on it or whatever. He lined them up and he started on one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just labeled them in whatever order they were, I guess, either coming off the truck or parked in the parking lot or whatever. So if it had an SGL number, that's a Ken Fritz car. Same way with when they went to Warner Brothers. When they went to Warner Brothers, they lined them all up, started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and went that way.
What does the S stand for in SGL?
Studio.
Studio. Okay. And did he have possession of the cars, or did Warner Brothers have possession of the cars?
That's another thing I'm not positive of. I believe Warner Brothers had possession. And see, that was kind of the thing, was when they took the cars from the Vazes, that was basically their property, Warner Brothers property. And so they took it and then they gave it to Ken Fritz. And then the same thing. I kind of wonder if maybe he was just a temporary mechanic until they can set up a crew in-house to do the cars. I don't know if maybe he knew that going in to it or what, but he was only there for a short period. I think it was more of a transition thing.
Maybe they knew it was coming. So did some of his cars survive? Because you just said an SGL car would be a Ken Fritz car. Are you saying there some have been found?
Yeah. I don't have my list in front of me right now. A lot of the 17 cars, they had SGL numbers before.
Are they in different spots than the WGL numbers?
They're usually right there with it, but it'll be scratched out. One of the cars that was at the Cooter's last stand, it was WGL 33. And if you look very carefully, right next to where it was labeled WGL 33, you can see where SGL, it's either 9 or 19, was right next to it, and it was scribbled out. And then they wrote WGL. It became number 33.
Was Frank's car also an SGL?
Yes, it was. Let me look real quick.
Now, are there any SGLs that got out before they became Warner Brothers cars that are in public hands?
Yes. And one of them stayed here at my house for about 2 years.
Oh, is that the one that jumped?
Yes, that's SGL 13.
Is that the one and only that you know of? Are there any others?
I think if there were more, then they would have already surfaced by now. No, I don't have an SGL number for Frank's car. Number 33. The other car that was at Cooter's was 19, SGL 19, prior to Warner Brothers taking it.
Okay. Well, here's my final question before we get to our show review. And this was sent to me by, I believe his name is Jason. He's the guy that I picked up Finnegan's Death Metal Charger from in Minnesota.
Yes. Uh-huh.
He is trying to get a General Lee clone.
Okay.
And he texted me and was just kind of asking for some pricing opinions. It's a hodgepodge together car, and he knows that. It's not a 69, it's a 70 with a 69 front clip. Mm-hmm. It's got a weird bumper and weird graphics on it and weird wheels, but it's a Charger. It's got a 360 in it, runs and drives, $15,000. What is your opinion of that?
That's very reasonable. I mean, even though if he wants to go on and go through with the whole 69 conversion, which is a major process in itself, it's more than just a front cap like some people think. But $15,000 for a run and driving Charger, 68 through 70 Charger, is a pretty good deal.
That is exactly what I said. I said, remove the General Lee component from this entirely. What does it cost you to get a 69 or 70 Charger that runs and drives? And there's your answer right there. But in his case, if he did want to go through and do a full 69 conversion, the one thing I didn't know from a pricing standpoint is whether a 70 is as valuable and as wanted as a 68 or 69. So I kind of guessed that it was close. Is that true?
Yeah, of course the 68 and 69s are maybe a little bit more in demand, and then maybe for the Dukes of Hazzard reason or whatever. But 70s, they're just pretty much right there with them. There again, if you had a 70 and you wanted to turn it into a 69, you've got the whole front cap for one, and then you go into the dash. If you're not worried about the interior side of it, you're fine. Just swap the front cap. But on the interior side, you've got a steering column that's different. The whole entire dash is different. All the dash pads, they have plastic dash pads and not the foam padded dash pads. You got the high back bucket seats instead of the low back with the headrest. And then, of course, door panels are different. And so that stuff really adds up if you're concerned about the way the interior looks.
I don't know where he stands on that. I think if you're looking for a General Lee, you're either looking for something that's orange that turns head, or you're going the route that I'm trying to go, which is all in. I'm going through the interior process right now, and I have a pretty decent interior to work from.
Right.
And I'm still dropping some coin.
and see, the thing about it is, too, most people really don't care as far as the details go. But then you got people like me that's like, I'm a stickler for the details and all that. But 9 out of 10 people wouldn't care if it had a 70 interior with high back seats and all that. So, and there again, a lot of people just put black interior just because, I don't know if it's because it's cheaper, or they just like the way it looks better or whatever, but you'd be surprised how many General Lees with black interior are just completely acceptable as a quote unquote General Lee. So
well, I can tell you one obvious reason. You can buy every part that's reproduced in that color.
Yeah. And it's always cheaper.
Yeah, I'll be buying some parts that are black, and Nathan and I had kind of chatted a strategy about it, and we'll just dye the stuff we got to dye, and the other stuff's going to be made in the color I need. But if you just want to buy it all and stick it in, well, it all comes in black. That is the only color that everything comes in, is black.
Right.
Well, Corndog, before we get to our show review, I need to tell you about a special experience that I think is going to be important to you. Maybe you know it's coming here, and I assume you're going to have important thoughts on it. Tell me your thoughts on underwear there, Corndog. We haven't talked about this one. I know where Mike stands on the topic. I know where I stand on the topic, but this is a very important topic to me. Your thoughts. Are you pro underwear? You're for it? Are you getting it?
Yeah, I don't ever go to commando, so there you go.
You wear every day. Are you a boxer man? A brief man?
Boxer,
briefs?
yeah.
When did you become a boxer man?
I was probably a teenager.
Interesting enough. So did I.
Yeah.
Prior to then, probably a tighty-whitey person, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah, because that's what Mom and Dad bought.
That's right. What if I were to tell you, Corndog, that you have
love your underwear. I know you love your underwear.
What if I could tell you could get the comfort and convenience of a boxer, but with the all-encompassing packaging that only comes with a brief from MeUndies, who just happens to be our show sponsor of the day, with their special edition micromodal fabric 3 times softer than regular cotton. What would you tell you if I could do that for you today? Would that be a big day for you?
Oh, that would be great.
What if I told you could get 15% off just using
even better.
Our special deal today? What if
More
I told you
money for
this
car
one?
parts.
More money for car. That's right. Car parts aren't free. We got to save money somewhere.
That's it.
What if I told you could get fun, fashionable prints, including something with jack-o'-lanterns on it? Not a joke.
Very festive for this time of year.
Well, that's what you got to do there, Corndog. You need to go to MeUndies.com/KAFS to get 15% off of your first pair, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. And that means that if you get them and don't want them, and I'm not asking if you wore them, you can send them back. You can get the misses a pair too. They also have something I have really started to take a like of, the lounge pant. Are you familiar with the lounge pant?
I am not.
Imagine a pair of boxers that just keep on going. It's amazing.
I always call them sleeping pants. I didn't know what a term was for them, but maybe they're called lounge pants.
Okay. If that's not enough for you, they have a onesie. This is like when you were a kid and you wore the jammy pants. It's that without the feeties.
Well, does it have the little square on your butt that you drop down?
It does not. And I have looked. What it does have is a very, very long zipper that covers everything you're going to need to be done. So, Corndog, what I'm telling you is after this is done, I'm going to MeUndies.com/KAFS and signing you up. And everybody listening should do the same.
And save 15%.
Micromodal fabric right there. Okay, MeUndies, thank you for coming back. After every ad we do, I always think that'll be the last one, certainly. But they don't seem to mind.
That is your favorite product of all time besides car parts.
I love that company so much.
I know you do.
They're the greatest. They're the greatest.
Do you have some of the Star Wars one that you mentioned on the last episode?
I didn't get mine ordered in time, so I am signing up for the pumpkin ones.
You're waiting for the Star Trek ones, aren't you?
Well, why would you ask that? And I know that Star Wars is more of a common man's love, but I have Star Trek jammy pants, like homemade ones. I also have Dukes of Hazzard homemade ones too. I'm so much of a nerd that when they came out, my wife just bought fabric and made me pants.
Yeah.
But this was after the Dukes of Hazzard movie, and I can clearly tell that it's Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott in the car. But really? It's a Dukes of Hazzard, or it's a TV era car. It's got a small push bar on it. That's the it's kind of an interesting fabric. Perhaps I should wear them and put a picture on Instagram.
Wear them to SEMA.
Let's move on to the Dukes review.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
This is the Dukes of Hazzard review, back after a little bit of a hiatus, and we are in fact going to review 2 episodes. This is season 4, episode 8 and 9, which I think aired back to back on their initial release, making it just a 2-part, basically a 2-hour episode. But this is called $1 Million Sheriff, parts 1 and 2, written by William Rayner and Miles Wilder, directed by Dick Moder, and aired, both of them, on November 20th, 1981. Now, normally this is where we have the Mike Super Show summary. You want me to take a stab at some of it and you fill in the rest?
I think that would be awesome.
Okay, well, here is the gist of it. And this is very appropriate because right now, as we record this, the Mega Millions lottery is something like over $1 billion to a winner.
Last I heard is 1.6 billion. So think about how many chargers you can buy with that.
Oh, yeah, I buy them all.
Like 3
to 4 Hemi chargers. That was actually a question of mine later. I'll get to that one now about what you would do with your lottery winnings. But in this case, Rosco starts the show just being berated finally by Boss Hogg for crashing car after car after car after car and just costing the county and basically Boss Hogg money. So as luck would have it, Rosco is met by an attorney, and the attorney says, I've just delivered the will response from your great uncle Hosea, who you don't know, and he left you $10 million, his entire estate. Here you go.
That'd be awesome.
And Rosco loves it, and all of a sudden just goes hog wild, buys everything he's ever wanted, gets himself a Rolls Royce, has it converted into a police car, and Boss Hogg cannot take it. It is killing him that he's not the richest man in the family. So he decides to cheat Rosco out of his money and put him back in his place. And he fakes a card game with him, and he's got, I think he's playing poker or something like that. And he's got a couple of aces up his sleeve. And while they're playing, he drops the ace and Flash the dog eats it.
Good old Flash.
And Boss Hogg loses the poker game, fair and square. What they had bet, the last bet they had each make, was everything that they own, including apparently their jobs. because Rosco immediately becomes boss of the county and stays sheriff, and Boss Hogg is now a pauper, and he works as his deputy. The one thing, though, that Rosco wants more than anything else he can buy is surprising to me. He wants to put the Duke boys behind bars forever.
When it comes down to it, if you have all this money, to heck with them, go do something else. That's the first thing he thinks of.
It's apparently a personal just wish list because it's something he's always failed at doing. But the reason I was surprised at it, I always thought he was just doing it because he had to do it. I didn't know that he ever cared.
He was put up by Boss Hogg to do it. So you would think, he was just doing his job.
This is the story of Rosco hiring almost a hitman to come in here, frame the Dukes, get him in trouble, and get him in jail, and if need be, just kill him. And I remember seeing this episode as a kid. I was in first grade. I remember it very clearly, and I remember when Bo and Luke walked out of the bank and the other guy walked out of the church house and they were going to meet at high noon. I thought he was going to kill them, and I remember being scared about it. And then everything works out in the end as you would expect. You want to finish it from there? Because Roscoe's position changes later in the episode, but you can kind of fill in the gap.
After Uncle Jesse, after he slips and falls and bumps his head and goes into the hospital, then all of a sudden Roscoe's kind of like, okay, well, is this really worth it,
So Uncle Jesse was out looking for the bad guy, trying to protect his nephews, got injured, and
just out look. I think he went out by the swamp or whatever, looking out there because he thought maybe that's where they were going to be, and then so Rosco hears about it, and he actually kind of gets soft heart about it, and he thinks, well, maybe this isn't really worth it. He doesn't try to back out of the deal, but he's kind of like
has second thoughts.
Don't hurt anybody, but just I just want to arrest him. Of course, he's Jason Steele guy. He's sticking to his end of the deal because he wants $100,000 that's supposed to be paid.
He also wants to maintain his perfect reputation. If he takes a job, the job is fulfilled.
And so he figures the best way is he's going to get him with Grand Theft Auto. And so he gets his little tag-along friend to make a duplicate of the General Lee and park it outside of the boar's nest while they're inside. And so when they go to leave, they hop in this, what they believe is their car, and the chase goes on, and you've got my car. So he wants to arrest them for Grand Theft Auto. Of course, the car breaks down on them. They realize it's not their car, and that's one of the only times you see the General Lee's door open up.
Is it the only time on screen, other than Happy Birthday General Lee, where you see any doors open? And Happy Birthday General Lee, that's when it's not the General Lee.
Yeah, I mean, you see a couple times you'll hear the door shut, but you don't actually see it. And then there's another time where I forgot what episode it was, but Luke gets into the car. They show the in-car camera view, and you see him climb in and shut the door, but you don't actually see the door open. But yeah, there's a few times that there's kind of a little sketchy.
Maybe some poor editing, but in this case, that's how they prove to the Dukes this isn't your car.
Yeah, he says, open the door. Your car's doors are welded shut. Open it. And sure enough, he opens the door, and the door is open.
Doesn't it look weird to you? It looks weird to me when I open the doors on my own car.
When John Schneider was doing it, he was sitting on the actual door itself, and then he reached down there and opened it. So you knew that was how he really did it in real life. He knew exactly where that handle was when he was sitting there. So
yeah,
they were probably used to doing it once the cameras went off.
So the show ends with the Dukes getting away, and the bad guy still wants his money. Somehow, the condition with Rosco winning $10 million is discovered to be a mistake.
The lawyer says it was a typo. Put the decimal in the wrong spot. It was $10, not $10 million.
Not $10 million, which makes the bet with Boss Hogg null and void because he never had it in the first place. All that gets changed. And Jason Steele takes Rosco away this time and says, you give me $100,000 for this guy or I'll kill him. I'm getting $100,000 one way or another. And then the Dukes save him and all wrongs are righted. They beat up the bad guy. It takes both Dukes to get him, I think. But they do get him.
He was a big dude. He had some arms on him.
Mean sucker. I didn't have time to look up stats on who that actor was. I don't remember seeing him in any other production, but I always remember being kind of scared of him.
He was pretty tough looking guy, but he, I think I looked up something about him one time, and he actually he didn't mind getting in scuffles and, playing the part of that kind of guy. So, I think, of course, being his age at that time, he did a lot of Westerns prior to, and he had a lengthy IMDb credit page, I guess you'd call it.
What specifics did you pull out of this particular show? Did you have any specifics on the cards that you liked?
Well, I really liked this episode, and I probably watched this episode 3 or 4 times or whatever, and a couple of times I watched it just so that I could try to find something. I couldn't find hardly anything. The big jump at the very beginning of the episode, the very, very beginning. It was at the very beginning.
I had that in my notes when they go over the Cadillac. That was one of my favorite jumps. They showed it from a few different angles multiple times.
Well, that was what I was going to say is it's like right after the opening credits, he says, well, the bridge is out or our creek is over. I don't know what he said, but he said, well, just jump it. And so they jump it. It's a huge jump. And they showed it from straight on the driver's side. And then after they land, then of course Rosco starts chasing them, and then that's when he makes them, they go up on 2 wheels, and Rosco ends up rolling the car, and that's what started the whole, Rosco's costing the county too much money. But that shot there, it was Al Wyatt Jr. that jumped that car. Later on, I thought it might have been a different jump when they were chasing the lawyer, and they jump over his car. Mm-hmm. It's the same jump. It's just, from
shot from the
behind
back.
From behind. When they show that sidecar view from the lawyer's car, and then you watch that Charger fly overhead, that car is probably 20 to 30 feet in the air, and that's a long fall.
I wonder if Al Wyatt got hurt on that one.
I'm not sure, but it probably crushed a few vertebrae.
There's another scene in there right after that jump, when they're pulling over the lawyer that I like. You're in the lawyer's car looking out the window, the generally's in front of you, and then you see it kind of swerve left, right, and do a full 180. And then John Schneider and Tom Wopat get out.
I remember that shot.
And that's why it's so cool, because it's really them. And John Schneider really spun it around.
You can clearly tell it's them.
That location, though, where they did the jump, I've seen that in other episodes. Do you know where that was?
That's Sherwood, Lake Sherwood. Most all of this filming, all of the Boar's Nest and all that was Lake Sherwood.
Does this one still have the red gas pumps? Or are we past that now?
I can't remember if they still had them in front of the Boar's Nest, but it's the same place where they did have the red pumps. But the Lake Sherwood Boar's Nest is always easy to spot because there's a huge oak tree or pecan or whatever right off. If you're standing there and you're looking straight at the Boar's Nest, it's just off to the left. Mm-hmm. And Jesse's farm and all was at Sherwood.
Okay.
And if you really kind of look at the surroundings, from what I understood was that when they would move, they went from like Disney Ranch to Sherwood, they would just basically take down the house and set it back up in the new location. So they would change it up a little bit, but the easiest way to look is really kind of look at the background and see how the terrain is.
If you were judging this episode, is this one of your favorite set of episodes out of the whole series?
For the storyline, it's probably one of my favorite. The stunts were, they're okay. It had ski stunts and it had a few jumps, and the stunts were kind of not as much. They recycled jump footage, the same jump twice, and then they did a little soft jump where, they showed the camera hanging off the side of the car, and they jumped maybe like a 2-foot ramp, and they showed that jump twice in this episode, and so it was kind of safe as far as the stunts go, but for the storyline, I really liked the storyline. It kind of kept you on the edge of the seat. Like you said, when the whole town cleared out and they kind of met in the center, looked like an old Western duo.
Yeah. I just remember being a kid, truly being scared. So it worked on me back then. Other than Carnival of Thrills, is this the only other 2-part episode in the whole series?
I believe it is, actually. I know this episode, they both aired on the same date, and I'm looking. Yeah, Carnival of Thrills was also on the same date, so it was like a back-to-back episode.
Dukes of Hazzard episodes are a standalone product. They don't reference other scripts. There's no tie-over. There's no arc. Nothing like that. Whereas most modern TV shows have a story arc.
Right. It's an ongoing story.
That's not how these work. Every single one of them is all by itself. These are neat to me because of how long they are and that the story does carry over. I kind of wish there were more of them.
And actually, I was going to tell you, too, on this is kind of sidetracks a little bit, but I've been talking with Mark Bradley.
Yeah.
He's been wanting to do a lot of the Cooter's Garage details. He and I have been going back and forth, and it made me look at this episode. This episode was actually, what did you say? It's episode 8 and 9 or 9 and 10, something like that?
Well, it's listed as episode 8 and 9.
This was actually intended, it was actually filmed. It was the first episode for season 4.
Really?
And so they intended on it, I guess, being a season premiere episode, but for whatever reason, it was bumped back. So actually, the episode filmed after this, which we have already covered, is the Sadie Hog Day episode.
Another favorite.
So, yeah, you just like the intro. That's it.
Just Me Undies should have sponsored that one.
Yeah. And another detail about this that I meant to mention was one thing that was really odd about, and this is the only episode you see this, well, these 2 episodes were the only episodes you see it, but all of the police cars had a different light bar on them. Normally they run it's a Federal Aerodynamic 52-inch. It's kind of the round, I guess you'd call it like a cylinder-shaped lens. It's just round.
Yeah.
On this episode, every single police car, including the Rolls Royce, is kind of a wedge-shaped light bar. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but this is the only episode you will see those light bars on the Hazzard cars.
The Rolls Royce that is Roscoe's police car, wasn't this the same Rolls Royce? What was that family from season 2? The Bumpkins or the ones that had a butler?
It was also yellow, but I think it was brown down the sides. It may be the same car and they just repainted it, or it may be a totally different car. Well, there's another episode too, and I don't remember, but it was the lady that her husband passed away and she inherited all of his moonshine that was down in the steel.
Yeah.
Didn't she show up after she supposedly cashed in on all this money? I think she had a Rolls Royce. Or I may be way off in left field too, right there with you.
I don't remember that one, but I believe you.
After you get to watching so many of them, then they kind of all start to blend together.
That's probably true. Did you have any other automotive-specific things like that? I was kind of curious if the General Lee and the duplicate General Lee were actually the same car shot at the same time. I didn't pay super close attention to the cars to tell if they had really
I meant to go back and really check. I do remember that the car that they pulled up that was smoking, if you noticed the back edge of the hood, like the hood was not aligned very well, and the back edge of the hood was kind of lifted up. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember that being the case on the car that they had been driving mostly throughout the episode. Right. So it may be a different episode. And I don't remember which car it was. I want to say it was, it's one of the 17 was the Survivor car, was the one that was dedicated just for underhood overheating shots.
Oh, really? How do they make that stunt work?
I'm sure it's probably a hidden tank somewhere in the car, mm-hmm. and it has just a hose that routes out and probably plugs into the radiator. And, they just cut it on, and it just kind of like a nitrous purge.
Yeah, because whenever they get shot at in the grill, that's the psst that blows away right away.
I believe it was Keith Winfrey's car, which he has since passed away. His car's 35, I believe, WGL 35. I think his car was the one that was the overheating car.
Well, I'll have to look at some pictures on that. We've talked off the air. That article was one that eventually brought us together. It was the story that he published online about getting his real General Lee. It was the full story, the 5-year saga of going from just being a member of the Dodge Charger registry to being one of the select few chosen by Wayne Wooten to blindly put in your money to get a General Lee. You didn't know which one you'd get. You didn't know anything about it. You just put in some money and you'd get one.
And you couldn't talk about it. I read that story so many times, and I love that story so much. I've actually thought about reposting it. It's on like an old Prodigy.net
like Angel
website.
Hellfire or something.
Yeah. So I've thought about just transferring it over to, and of course, giving full credit to that web link and all that. But in case that ever goes down, he's no longer with us. So, of course, I'm sure his family wouldn't care to put it back up or anything,
Mm-hmm.
And so that story needs to stay out there. So it was pretty cool.
I read that so many times as well. I remember sitting in black engineering in college waiting for a bus. I'd kill like 30 or 40 minutes. I'd read that story and then check that website like once a week just to see if there were updates on it.
Yeah.
Man, that was a different time. Totally different time. But that car is still out there, and it had a preservation or restoration done. It's still in rough shape.
It's very rough.
Driving. Tell you what, let's do a couple sound clips that set the stage for the episode, and then we'll end with some questions for you. So here's clip number 1.
Oh, boss, Rosco, this here's Mr. Reynolds. He's attorney from Atlanta. He got some legal business with R.P. Coltrane.
Well, Mr. Attorney, you're just plumb out of luck if you're planning to sue this here pauper. On account I got every dime he's going to earn in the next 6 months hog-tied and branded.
Actually, sir, I'm here at the behest of your late great-uncle Hosea.
I never heard of him.
But, sir, he left you his entire estate. $10 million.
$10 million.
I thought it was funny that they could never pronounce his name. They call him Hosanna and Himalaya.
He did not care. Well, he goes and buys like caviar and stuff like this. But this is the question that's going to lead me to the lottery question with you. This one right here.
With all that money, isn't there something that you want that you just think you ain't about to get?
Yeah, now that you mention it, there is. There is something that just galls my very soul. You know, I think about it every night and every day and every day and every night. It's that one more mountain to climb. It's that one more river to swim.
Well, what is it?
It's the Duke boys. Oh, if I could just catch them and put them in prison for the rest of their natural lives.
See, that's all he wants. Just to catch those Duke boys. So, if you were to win the Mega Million, I read some stats on what happens. And most lottery winners, yes, do go broke. But a lot of them keep working as well, interestingly enough. So, what would you do? Would you change careers? Would you keep doing what you're doing? What would Corndog do for a living if he didn't have to work for a living?
Man, that'd be tough. It's hard to even imagine being able to have that decision right in front of you, and all you got to do is just decide what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would still work. I don't know that I would still be where I'm at, I guess, if that makes sense. Not that there's anything wrong with where I'm at, but it would be nice to be able to say, it's Thursday, let's go to SEMA or whatever.
Right.
I would still work, but I'd probably do like restorations on my own. Who knows what? I'd do something just to stay busy, but make it very flexible with when I could leave if I wanted to or whatever. I'd probably do my own thing, flipping cars, or I always like going out picking, finding signs and antiques and stuff. And I like buying and selling stuff. So I'd probably do that full time.
You would really just take your sideline hobbies and make them your profession.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about your career is it's keeping your skills up. You're building, some pretty top line shelf stuff that you wouldn't normally do just for fun. Somebody has to ask you to build this crazy Corvette and things like that. That would be a tough one for me to answer at this point because I don't really have a job anymore.
Poor guy.
I sure work a lot. The entrepreneurial route, I have learned, is very hard to explain to people because it's a different answer. If somebody asks me what I do for a living, I kind of just choose one of the things that I'm doing, whatever's most appropriate to. I don't think they're going to understand podcasts about Dukes of Hazzard.
Say I work in media.
I've said that, and then other people, that's all they want to hear about. It's an interesting one, but I kind of thought you would say I would make General Lee's for a living, but that's not what you said.
That would be fun. I would probably just go buy all the 17. If you had $1.6 billion, you can buy all of them.
I know what I would do for sure on one.
You'd have one of each.
I would go hunt down the mystery car.
Oh, the Forever Young car.
Yes, that's the car I would go hunt down. I think that's the last unicorn to find.
You would be like the people on Oak Island. Just keep sinking money into searching and searching and searching, and maybe you'll come up with something.
I don't know what that means, but yes.
The Curse of Oak Island. Have you?
No, what are we talking about?
On History Channel. It's an island up in, I think it's in the Netherlands, I believe, or somewhere north of Maine. It's supposedly got all these hidden treasures all over it, and they just keep sinking. People have been searching that island since the 50s, and they find a little bit here and a little bit there. They think like the Ark of the Covenant is buried there somewhere.
Oh, okay, that's the treasure that they're looking for.
And yeah, so they don't know what the treasure is, but there's all kinds of booby traps. I mean, this is like a legit thing. They just keep digging and find, oh, here's a Roman coin, we're getting close. And, they've gone like 8 seasons and they still haven't found much of anything, but they're sinking tons of money into this production. So whatever, it's fun.
I thought it was going to be they found Amelia Earhart or something. No, I want to find that one last generally. That's the one.
Yeah.
I need to know what happened to that car. Well, we have gone through a lot of ground here, but Corndog, I appreciate you coming on, and everybody, we really appreciate you for listening. This is a very good episode that you need to check out, and I will make sure that I get all the clips in here. For everybody that asks online where you can watch these shows, I don't know what you're doing. I still use the DVDs when I'm pulling clips for this show, but Amazon Prime is like the go-to spot. Is that what you use?
I still do DVDs.
Still gold?
If I need to pull screenshots, I do the DVDs. But if I'm just sitting in the living room watching it or in the bedroom or whatever, I'll do the Amazon Prime. I need to figure out some way to pull off the screenshots from the Amazon because they may be a little bit better.
The guy who aligned my car, he has a computer out in his alignment rack. He was watching the Dukes of Hazzard when he aligned my car.
I think I saw that picture. It was mounted up on the wall?
Yes. He has the one where Daisy gets put in jail. And
and her numbers are like 36, 24, 36 or something.
Yeah, it's her measurements. It's
No, that's her prison number.
Sure it is. It's just about perfect. So. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. If you get this show in iTunes, please leave a rating there for it. You can also get our once-a-month show that Mike and I do on Patreon, which is just for Patreon supporters, and Corndog does contribute to that as well. And that is where we answer all your questions that we can't really answer in a public forum, but that one's private. So we've answered them all other than how much money do you make and how much can I have? Which, whenever I get that question, I just throw that question away at this point, but I used to get a lot. So, all right, anything else, man?
Go buy you some underwear.
That's no joke. Go to meundies.com/KAFS. They keep track of that. And because you guys supported us before on MeUndies, that is why they came back. And that is why we can kind of keep things going here. So much appreciated.
Just remember, you're saving money for car parts.
15% isn't nothing to sneeze at.
That's right.
Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey there. This is Rob. Up next are all the clips I pulled from this 2-part episode of the Dukes of Hazzard. And it was very tough to use discretion. Each clip, I got like 20 of them. They're all like a minute long. I'm sorry, Bernie. I'm sorry. If you like the clips, though, you're in for a treat. This should take a while and tells the whole story pretty darn well. But I still recommend you go watch both these episodes. These are really, really good ones. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for listening. Please do go check out meundies.com/KAFS and get yourself a really nice, comfy pair, because they'll keep supporting us if they keep supporting you, so to speak. All right. See you later.
Oh, boss, Rosco, this here's Mr. Reynolds. He's attorney from Atlanta. He got some legal business with R.P. Coltrane.
Well, Mr. Attorney, you're just plumb out of luck if you're planning to sue this here pauper. On account I got every dime he's gonna earn in the next 6 months hog-tied and branded.
Actually, sir, I'm here at the behest of your late great-uncle Hosea.
I never heard of it.
Well, all that money, isn't there something that you want that you just think you ain't about to get?
Yeah, now that you mention it, there is. There is something that just galls my very soul. I think about it every night and every day and every day and every night. It's that one more mountain to climb. It's that one more river to swim.
Well, what is it?
It's the Duke boys. If I could just catch them and put them in prison for the rest of their natural lives.
Boss, a pleasant surprise. Never expect to find you here.
Oh, no? Well, you boys ought to know better than that. I mean, to who else would I turn for help when Hazzard County's in real trouble but my dearest friend, your Uncle Jesse Duke?
Just what is it you want from us this time?
Well, Lulu is very upset because Rosco inherited $10 million.
No, that ain't what I was trying to tell you, Jesse. No, Lulu's upset because her great Uncle Hallelujah didn't leave half of that $10 million to her.
Boss, it's great Uncle Hosea.
Hello, Mabel?
Yes?
This is Sheriff Rosco Pico. The P is for prosperous. Listen, Mabel, would you do me a favor, darling? Let your fingers go tippy-toeing through the yellow pages over there in the Atlanta telephone directory and look under investigator and get me a Jason Steele.
Rosco, you can't mean the real Jason Steele.
Well, it better be the real one for what I want him for.
Well, whatever it is, you can't bring a sidewinder like that into Hazzard. Why, the switchboard operator in Atlanta says he's the dirtiest, the low-downest, meanest...
Mabel, never mind his good points. Just go ahead and get him, and then would you ring me back, please? This could be the most important phone call I ever made in my whole life.
What you doing home so early? Boss fire you again?
No, this is serious. There's a rumor going around the boar's nest that Roscoe's out to get you.
What's new? Shoot, we out-snookered him before. We can do it again.
Don't be too sure. Mabel tells me that Roscoe's used his inheritance money to hire a private detective to run you guys right into prison. A fellow by the name of Steele.
Jason Steele?
Yeah.
I don't know him, but I know of him. One mean fella. Private investigator out of Atlanta. Ain't particular whether he catches people fair or not.
That don't sound too good, seeing as how he's supposed to show up any minute.
Sneaked a one. Listen, who are you? I mean, what do you want?
Same thing you want, Mr. Coltrane. The Duke boys.
Ooh, I know who you are. You're Mr. Steele. How'd you get in here past Flash and me? I didn't hear you tippy-toe in here.
You see, sometimes in my business, it's better to slip in where you're not expected.
Well, you're going to have to be sneaky, because I'll tell you, those Duke boys are slipperier than a bucket full of greased eels.
Is that right?
Yeah, they are.
Well, then this job might be a little more interesting than I thought.
Oh, well, that's...
Mr. Coltrane, I'll be traveling incognito.
Oh, incognito, huh? You wear what you got on, you look great.
Uncle Jesse, you want to tell me what's worrying you?
What makes you so sure something is?
You always whittle when you worry. It's the boys, ain't it?
Yeah. Something was to happen to them boys, I don't know what I'd do. I tell you, I'm more than worried. I'm scared plumb out of my wits.
KD.
A deal's a deal. Now, are you going to play, or do you forfeit the pot to Rosco here?
Pop, hip. No, I'll play.
Nine of spades, six of hearts.
Since we've both bet everything in the world we own, I got a pair of kings.
Got an ace. That's all. I got nothing.
Put it in there.
No more house. No more bullshit. No more sawfields. No more banks. No more mortgages. No more IOUs. I ain't even got no more Barbara's jail.
Give me that ring.
Years and years.
Don't crinkle that finger on me. Just put it.
I'm making honest living years and years of working my fingers to the bone to make an honest living in the American way, and it's all gone down the tubes.
Did you see what I did? I made the richest man in Hazzard County the poorest in the state.
You got any idea what happened?
No. He was like that when I found him.
Just can't figure out what he's doing in that part of the county anyway.
It's my fault. If I wouldn't have given him that picture of Steele, he would have never stormed out looking for him.
Don't blame yourself, honey. He's just trying to help us.
It ain't y'all's fault. It's anybody's fault. It's this lizard's here.
You ain't forgetting that, Cooter. It's just one more reason we got to catch this sucker.
Are you kidding me, Hogg? Me support you for the rest of my life. I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't give you a red, white, or blue cent. Why don't you get a job?
Job?
Instead of relying on us idle rich.
Yeah. Maybe I could take a job that was part-time, not too hard, and gave me a cut of the teak.
No, that's my job.
All right.
Hazzard County Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Rosco P. Coltrane speaking. And no matter how much you snivel or beg, I'm not going to lend you a silver... Who?
It's Steele.
Yeah, well, what can I do for you?
I'm gonna need some pictures of General Lee from all four sides. And I need those today.
Well, I can't get to it today. I'm too busy counting my money.
Well, then you just go out and take some, Coltrane. Or you forget about ever jailing them Duke boys.
Yeah, you know to whom you are... Speaky. You just... naughty, that's it. Mr. Steele, if you don't mind me asking, what are you going to do with those pictures?
Well, I'm gonna use these to earn me that $100,000.
Oh, well, good. Listen, I wouldn't impose on you to tell you your business, but if you don't mind, I'd sure appreciate if nobody else got hurt. Because, I really felt bad when Jesse Duke got hurt and put in the hospital.
You know, the way you talk, it sounds like you was on his side.
Well, I ain't on anybody's side that gets my friends hurt, even if they are enemies.
You know, your Uncle Jesse and me go back a long ways. Nobody knows better than I that he's a tough old fella. I never thought something like this would happen to him.
And I want you to know that none of us are holding anything against you or Rosco.
You ain't?
Oh, no. Why should we?
Maybe it'd be better if you did. Well, I mean, just think of all the times I'm responsible for a little. I mean, I'm paying for something now, ain't I? Well, you just tell your Uncle Jesse that I was here. When he comes out of this.
Sure, boss.
Well, I give him this much. You got plenty of guts.
Yeah, well, I'm tired of them rubbing their noses in it. They ain't falling for any of the old tricks.
Well, they will. Tomorrow morning, they'll be on their way to the federal slammer. Unless I can get them today.
Meaning?
Well, man, maybe if I was to take their bait, I just might cause them to make the first mistake before tomorrow.
Sure, if the boys know what they're doing. And I sure hope there ain't gonna be no trouble.
Something on your mind, Sodbusters?
Yeah, you're dang right there is, mister. Just how much is Rosco paying you to put us in jail?
More than you could ever spend.
Do you realize we could file charges against you for hit and run and for also hiding that dang gun in our car?
Be my guest. Now, you don't really think any of those charges are gonna stick, do you?
That may be so. But Uncle Jesse got hurt trying to find you. If you don't make it, we'll be back. You can count on that.
There's one more thing, too. Before you go wasting any more of your precious time trying to catch us, let me just warn you that...
No, Sonny, let me just warn you. You see, I consider it my duty to keep scum like you off the streets.
Scum like me? I'll show you who's scum, mister. I'll show you who's scum. Look, come on, dang it. He deserves a mouthful of my fist.
Anytime you think you're man enough to try, Sonny, come and get it.
Yeah, I think I'm man enough. How about right here and right now, Steele?
Listen to me. That's just what he wants you to do. You take one swing at him and Rosco will have us both in jail so fast it'll make your head spin.
Luke, fist fighting is only a misdemeanor. Will you let me hit him?
Yeah, but assault and battery ain't.
I almost had you going for it, didn't I? Well, next time you won't be so lucky. There will be a next time. Because I'm going to nail you with a felony charge if it's the last thing I ever do.
All right, you Dukes. Now, I'm sorry about your Uncle Jesse being in the hospital, but I've been waiting a long time for this, and I got you. You're under arrest.
Now, what sort of trumped-up charge you come up with this time, Rosco?
Grand Theft Auto, unless he wants to drop the charges. He doesn't want to drop them.
Just what auto did we grand theft?
This auto?
This one.
You guys must have been sipping that watered-down liquor inside. Everybody in Hazzard County knows this is our General Lee.
This ain't no General Lee. Just some old clunker I had painted up.
Your doors are welded shut, aren't they? Well, try these doors. Good.
Rosco, you're talking about
time. We know what the...
See there? Good.
That explains that little photo-taking trip you guys took out to the farm then.
Also explains why the General's running so bad.
It's all part of the plan, boys. You see, this is my car. And you boys tried to drive away in it. And that adds up to grand theft auto.
Which is naughty, see? As soon as I get the paperwork done, I'm gonna pull you up to Atlanta and put you in a slammer for good. Good.
About your inheritance, it seems that our computer made a terrible mistake.
Oh, a mistake? A mistake? You mean to tell me I'm not related to Uncle Harrison?
He's Uncle Hosea, and you definitely are related.
Then you mean I get the rest of the money?
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
Our computer printed the decimal point in the wrong place.
In the wrong place.
And what you inherited was not $10 million, but $10.
$10? You inherited $10? You mean that's it? I mean, that's the whole hush puppy?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm not. Here, give me that. That $10 is mine. And you know what else?
No.
Well, if you were playing with money that wasn't yours, in the first place, that poker game we played wasn't legal.
Illegal?
Yeah, in the second place, you got to give me back everything you won. Yeah, to put it in here.
Also, the $50,000 that I advanced to you.
Yeah, give it to him.
And you know what? It's good news.
It is.
You know why?
Why?
Because if I don't really get that money, that means that I can't pay that Jason Steele, and he has to let the Duke boys go. What's important is that I get back there and catch him before he takes the Duke boys to Atlanta. Go
with your boy!
Let him down.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Well, it looks like Roscoe's inheritance didn't pan out, so he can't pay that bounty hunter what he promised him. They kind of kidnapped little Roscoe and took him off in that brown van. At least now we got the general so we can chase him.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I'll keep an eye out, too, and I'll holler on the CB if I see him, all right?
Thanks a lot, Cooter. Let's hit it, Bo.
Good luck, y'all.
You got it.
Well, that was Steele's last bounty, because he was guilty of kidnapping the sheriff. Boss and Roscoe made up.
You mean you weren't making up that story?
Heck no.
You weren't pulling my leg?
No.
You were in real danger.
He was ready to blow me out between my ears. And where were you?
Do tell.
Yeah.
You know, if I'd have known that, I'd have loaned you every penny I got. Or ever hooped to hear.
Oh, yeah. I knew you was my little fat buddy.
That's my old friend.
Little fat buddy, why we're friends, could you loan me a 10 spot until payday?
What? Loan you?
Yes.
Are you in any real danger?
Well, no.
See some other sucker.
Here we get him. Here. Wait. Just get right. I don't want to. Look out.
The best part was Uncle Jesse was back on his feet. Oh, Roscoe did give Bo and Luke a ticket for speeding when they was trying to save his life. Sure looks like things about back to normal in Hazzard County, huh?